Hey there, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Charlotte with Colorful Teaching for You, and today we're going to look at 5 simple lesson planning tips for new teachers. This is also relevant for if you've already been teaching for a while, or if you are a substitute teacher, or if you are on your journey to becoming a teacher. So stick with me and we're going to get started. So one of the things I've realized is there's so many teachers that wonder, how do I make my lessons or my units really exciting and relevant to my kids for the entire year? Now here's the caveat. An entire year of planning takes a long time, but beyond that, if you're new to teaching and you've never met your kids, oh my goodness, it's going to be difficult. And the reason I say this is from out of experience, because I planned for an entire year when I first started teaching, and I'd never met my kids before. And guess what? It didn't go too well, because when I met them, I realized I think I planned things that were a little too tricky for them. And so I had to go back to the drawing board and start again. And that was a lot of work that I put into that now I wasted all that time. So I'm going to stop you from wasting your time, and I'm going to say, don't plan for an entire year, but plan for one term, the first term, okay? Because it's easier to make changes for the first term and then to keep going from there. And I can show you how to go from there, and I'll talk about that later, but for right now, just one term, okay? Let's get started on our 5 tips. The first one is to look at the big picture. When I say big picture, I'm looking at what are your big goals for your students? What learning objectives do they need to know? What skills do they need to develop within that one term? Then I want you to actually break all of that down. Once you know what your big picture is, what unit can that fit into? When you have the unit, then we're going to, kind of like an umbrella, we're going to break that down even more. We're going to look at what lessons can go into this, or what mini units first can we break it into, and then what lessons. When you have that, all you're writing is the topic for it. So if you're looking at let's say sustainability, for example, at this point you might look at how do we save the environment from pollution, or how do we recycle. We might be looking at different aspects. That's all you're doing right now. You're just writing the titles for things. Okay, so that is the big picture. That's number 1. Number 2 is now you're going to go and look for resources. So I'm not going to ask you right now to create your resources from scratch, because if you're a new teacher, that's way too much work to be doing, especially if you've never met your kids. Okay, so instead of going and recreating everything from scratch and wasting all of your time and not having any work-life balance, because the first year for most of us is not the easiest year. So save yourself some time for actually having time for yourself at home later on, and actually find resources online. There are many done-for-you resources that are either paid or free. In fact, I have a free resource library, and I'll link to that. I also have a store, and I'll link to that so that you can choose what you'd like, okay? But don't spend time creating something from scratch. Number 3 is to create your template. And in this, what I'm talking about here is creating a template for your lesson planning. So if you have one already, great, you can skip this step. But if you don't have one, I want you to do one thing. I want you to actually get a template, and I will link to it because I do have a lesson planning or a day planning template that you can grab right away. I also have a teacher planner that also can act as a lesson planning template for you, that helps you plan for an entire week. So you can use either of them, and I'll link to them in the description. Take it and use this over and over and over again. You do not want to be spending unnecessary time recreating a template. So have a template ready and just reuse it over. Make adjustments as you need to, okay? The 4th step is to differentiate. Now, it is really difficult to differentiate for everything. I'm not asking you to do that for everything. Choose a couple of lessons here and there. Differentiate one level up, one level down, so that if your students are it's too difficult for them, they go one level down. If it's too easy for them, they go one level up. If your entire class is below whatever you planned, then you take the entire class. You already have one level down because you already have it planned. So just have one level up, one level down, just for the lessons you feel you need to differentiate for, because you may not need it for everything. And don't go overboard and do it for every one of them, okay? The fifth one is assess and reflect. So before you've met your kids, you can assess them, but when you actually meet them, even right on the first day, what did you learn today? Very quick assessment. Or what did you learn in this subject? It's a quick assessment. You get to see where they are at with their learning, and then you go back and you get some time to reflect. And I encourage you to reflect every day, at least for the beginning part. It will become so natural, you'll just be doing it in your head in a little while. But for that lesson planning template that I talked about, which I will link to in the description, I actually give you some space to reflect, because it's so important to be able to do that and make changes to your lesson as you need to. Okay, so let's recap really quickly. What we've talked about so far is the importance of planning ahead, but only for one term, not so much if you're a new teacher. For the next thing, we looked at 5 steps. One is looking at the big picture. The second is find go-to resources. The third is create your template. That means your lesson planning template. The fourth is differentiate. And the fifth one is to assess and reflect. Now, I mentioned a free way of helping you plan, and what I meant was in the description, you will get access to the free teacher planner. So even though it is something you would pay for, I'm also giving it to you for free, and it'll be in the description here. You get that plus a video tutorial for you to help you along the way, to teach you how to plan for a week ahead, so that you're always a week ahead and you're not feeling like you're behind. This can serve as your day plan that you put on your on your desk or in your binder, for if administration walks by, you already have it ready, or if you're sick, you've got that ready to go. All right, if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to send me a message. I would love to help you out in any way that I can. In the meantime, remember to create, experience, and teach from the heart. I will see you again, same place, same time next week. Take care, my friends. Bye.